Welcome back to another episode of the Fanatics Forum, where you get that real sports talk from the fans' perspective. And just really quick, if you like this video, share it, and leave a comment so I can keep giving you guys this content. So, for today, we have a special show. We'll be giving out awards for the top players in the NFL and give them the respect they deserve without any media bias. I will go over who I have as the MVP, Offensive Player of the Year, Defensive Player of the Year, both the Offensive and Defensive Rookie of the Year, and finally Coach of the Year. And I'll also include any honorary mentions because a lot of my selections were so close that I wouldn't be mad if you actually went with the honorary mention instead. I just have to let you know that these probably won't reflect the AP awards that the media will vote for, but again, I try to take the bias out of my selections and decide on who I believe is the best for what they did throughout the whole season, not just a few games or during big moments. For me, you should get an award for your whole body of work, not if you played a certain opponent and did well. So let's start off with the Defensive Rookie of the Year. My 2023 Defensive Rookie of the Year goes to Jalen Carter. And I'm a big Cowboys fan, but I have to admit that this year he was a beast on the defensive line, especially in run defense. He gave Philly another big body to really slow down the run, and he was productive in the pass rush as well. You don't see many interior linemen racking up 7 sacks, especially in their first year. So for me, I have to give it to Jalen Carter because the impact he had for the Eagles going into the season and as an interior lineman, they're very easy to forget about. And you can get beat up real easy in the NFL at that position. So for him to be able to really play at that high level and put up good numbers in his first year with a PFF rating of 88.7, you can't deny that he was an animal on the D line this year. The next award we have up is Offensive Rookie of the Year. This one was super difficult for me. The two guys I had in mind were phenomenal, and one I thought for sure was going to be a bust. But when it comes to things like that, I love to be proven wrong. My 2023 Offensive Rookie of the Year goes to CJ Stroud. I can tell you for 100% fact that I was wrong about him. My number one rule is never trust a quarterback coming out of Ohio State. We've seen a boatload of them fail in the NFL as they came in with all this hype, and I thought the same thing was going to happen to CJ, but he definitely proved me wrong. And for me, in order to not be a bust in the NFL, you need to have some type of impact in your first few years before your rookie contract is up, especially at quarterback. And CJ passed that test. He led his team to the playoffs and had multiple 300 plus yard passing games. And I think his best game was versus the Bucks, where he went off for 470 yards with 5 touchdowns. That game alone solidified his potential, and I think he will have a bright future in the NFL because of, well, especially when you have production like that. And for this award, I had to have a honorary mention for Puka Nakua. This guy is a straight up star. The only reason he's honorary mention for me is because of QB bias. You just have to give it to the quarterback in this situation because of how Stroud turned around a struggling franchise and he gave them a brighter future for the next 5 to 6 years. One quarterback can do that for an organization. But again, Puka is that guy, hands down. Coming in as a fifth round draft pick and looking like he can replace Cooper Cup is just almost unheard of. He looks uncoverable, and he ended his rookie season with 105 receptions, 1,486 yards, and 6 touchdowns. For a rookie to be ranked fourth in receiving yards in the NFL is crazy, let alone a fifth round pick. I can't put his impact over CJ, but they're neck and neck to me. And they're going to be two, and no, they're currently 2 stars in the NFL as of right now. The next award we have up is Coach of the Year. This one wasn't an easy decision either, especially since for me, there are two head coaches that are easily deserving of this reward. So for me, my 2023 Coach of the Year goes to D'Amico Ryans. The reason I had to give it to D'Amico Ryans was because I didn't think he was going to be the coach in Houston for long. I thought he was just going to be a placeholder for the coach that they really wanted down the line. But just like CJ Stroud, he proved me wrong. I was here thinking he was going to get the Lovey Smith treatment, and all I had to do was wait and see. But man, he came out swinging. They drafted CJ Stroud, brought in Dalton Schultz from Dallas, and the Stroud to Nico Collins connection just took off. They have an offensive line and a very opportunistic defense. He has really changed that program so much that they are now truly a competitive team going into the playoffs and can do some damage now and into the future. The mentality and change he has brought to Houston, especially after the Deshaun Watson debacle, is just something you have to appreciate and makes you want him to be successful in the NFL. I got to give a quick honorary mention to Kevin Stefanski. If not for the big turnaround Houston had with the rookie quarterback, I would have had to give it to the Browns head coach. The minute Deshaun Watson was out for the year with a shoulder injury, along with Nick Chubb, I thought the Browns season was basically over. But luckily, Stefanski had put together one of the best defenses in the league to the point that almost any QB could play for that team. But I have to give him credit for taking a big risk to get Joe Flacco out of retirement, especially since Flacco brought that extra push and consistency at the quarterback position that they needed in order to end the season with 11 wins and 6 losses and got them to the playoffs. And they're ready to make some noise with the veteran quarterback and Joe Flacco, along with that top defense. He deserves all the credit in the world for taking those risks, and it paid off. Up next, we have the Defensive Player of the Year, and that award goes to Micah Parsons. Plain and simple, he is a game wrecker. The main reason he deserves this award is because Micah Parsons' last holding call was October 16th against the Chargers. One of the NFL's elite pass rushers hasn't gotten a holding call for 11 weeks straight, even when there's clear evidence that he's being held each game. That alone tells me that he's so dangerous that the refs are purposely not throwing flags, which tells me all I need to know. Micah is so elite that refs won't even throw flags for him, especially since he's been very critical of the officiating towards him. No other defensive player is being treated like this, and teams literally know they can hold him. And even with that, he still was able to rack up 16 sacks. That's being elite at its finest, and why he deserves to be Defensive Player of the Year. Now, for Offensive Player of the Year, I was definitely split because I believe these two guys are literally the reasons their quarterbacks are even competitive. And it's not to be disrespectful, but I think that without these guys on their respective teams, those teams offensively would be average. So I had to split the award amongst two guys that I felt have huge impacts on their teams. And they are Christian McCaffrey and Tyreek Hill. These guys are dynamic weapons, and for me, they're the only reason Purdy and Tua are playing at such high levels because they're so dangerous with the football that any missed tackle and they can end up in the end zone with ease. McCaffrey was one of the top rushers in the NFL this year with 1,459 rushing yards, and Tyreek Hill was the top receiving threat as he led the league in receiving yards with 1,799 yards. These guys were the best of the best at their respective positions, and I couldn't choose one over the other because they were both great offensively this year. So finally, we are at the most valuable player for the 2023 season. And for me, it's clear as day, but the media will definitely disagree with me because I'm going with the most hated man in the NFL. But numbers don't lie. For me, this year's MVP is Dak Prescott. The reason is very simple. Dak this year was the best quarterback, hands down. He is top five in passing yards, top five in completion percentage, and has the most passing touchdowns this year with 36. And he fulfilled his promise to not throw 10 or more interceptions this year when everyone was saying he had a turnover problem. He proved everyone wrong this year, and he is the main reason the Cowboys have an opportunity to win a Super Bowl this year. I know everyone's going to say, what about Lamar? And I like Lamar. And I think Lamar would be MVP if not for Dak. The only thing Lamar is better at Dak this year is running the football. But last time I checked, we evaluate quarterbacks for their ability to throw. And now that Dak has the best numbers at throwing the football, the goalpost has been moved to include rushing touchdowns and rushing yards. They want to give MVP to Lamar because all of these media pundits are mad that they were wrong about Dak. So since they have a vote, he won't get the love he deserves because he has a star on his helmet. It doesn't make sense that the best quarterback in the league won't win MVP because the people that vote don't like him. It's sad, but again, it's my opinion. But for me, Dak deserves the MVP because he was obviously the best at the quarterback position this year. Thank you so much for watching today's episode here at the Fanatics Forum, the sports podcast where you get that real sports talk from the fans' perspective. I'm your host, Mecca Mike, and don't forget to follow me on X, aka Twitter, Instagram, and subscribe to the YouTube channel so I can keep giving you this unfiltered content. Thank you again, and see you next time. I'm out.